Have yet another amazing guest on the show. So blessed to have Marcus Watts on the show. Marcus, how are you, man?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you, Blake, for having me.
Awesome. And you guys, Marcus, he is another just awesome influencer in the space of raw foods, of veganism, of detox. I love his Instagram. It's just Marcus Watts, but it's spelled with a Z at the end instead of an S. Marcus is a model. He had a transformation journey when he moved into veganism and raw foods, and he's all about conscious living. And so we're going to get into all of that on today's show. But first, I'm super curious, and I want to know, Marcus, like how you got into veganism in the raw food realm.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for that beautiful intro.
For
Couldn't have done
sure.
it better myself, honestly. But really, the main part of it was 2020. The year 2020 just rattled everyone. You know, we all experienced that if you're living today. And prior to that, I had been one of those guys that is living the LA lifestyle, you know, going out, hanging with friends. I grew up pretty athletic. I played basketball from elementary years through high school. And then I decided going to college, I wanted to chill off of that, you know, and be more for fun, intramurals and stuff, unless they were going to give me a scholarship or something. But that didn't end up happening. But it's all good. So yeah, 2020 was very shifting in the lifestyle in general. You know, most places were closed in LA, especially the bars kind of got shut down. So that was usually the thing I would do on the weekends and hang out with my friends. So that kind of put me into more solitude. And at the same time, I don't know what it was. It's something in the air that made me want to focus more on inputting things that I can implement in my life. So it started with just switching my listening and viewing behavior from rap music and just like entertainment movies and whatnot to more documentaries, to more podcasts, audiobooks, to actual books, because I didn't really like reading, like, and frequency music and like classical music, because I had been learning about the power of frequencies and how, you know, it really affects our energetic body and our physical body, our mental state and all those things. So that was pretty much all that was going on through 2020. And then September 15th, or no, sorry, September 12th around, I had watched the documentary Game Changers on Netflix. And that really opened my mind up to the vegan world, the plant-based lifestyle. And it's funny because going back 2017, and I just recently found this message on Instagram. This girl hit me up, and it was kind of highlighting a catfish situation where someone was using my images as a model. I guess it happens, and it happened to me. But she got catfished, and then she wanted to let me know that some guy was using all my images and trying to get on a date with her and all this stuff. But anyway, she asked me if I was vegan in 2017, and I responded in all caps, I will never be vegan. Never, ever will I be vegan. And I forgot about that until like 2 years ago when I was scrolling through my DMs and I saw that message. I'm like, whoa, everything completely shifted. But anyway, watch Game Changers on a Thursday or so, or a Friday. Then by Monday, I decided, yeah, I'm going to jump into a cleanse. I want to try this plant-based lifestyle out. And so I had a friend that lived across the street, and I told him, hey, I asked him, do you want to do this cleanse? I'm planning on doing this 10-day cleanse. We can go to the store, get all the groceries or whatever. And he's like, okay. But he started a day after me. So he started on Tuesday. I started on Monday. And it was a challenging cleanse, like going from kind of just eating everything to now being vegan, like plant-based stuff and cleansing type of foods, melons. We did like mucus booster, like shots with lemon and garlic, I think olive oil in that too, because it was doing like liver as well. And I got to day 6, he got to day 5, and he rings me up and he's like, hey man, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, no, we're right there. We're at the halfway point. Let's just keep going. And he kind of talked me out, and I kind of said, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm going to quit too. So then that night, I went over to his house, and his girlfriend made us like Chipotle style, like Southwestern bowls with the rice and the veggies and stuff. But we put shrimp on it. And after I ate that, 20 minutes later, my stomach was like gargling like crazy and it started hurting. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let go of all the meat and all the seafood. I'm going to stick to this plant-based lifestyle, because in 6 days, I had never experienced feeling that after I've eaten shrimp in my life, you know?
Right.
And so that pretty much started the kickoff of this journey. And within those 6 days and after, I started watching like Food Inc., Cowspiracy, Kiss the Ground, like all these documentaries kind of to flood my mind with why this is a good decision anyway. Like I was already very intrigued from Game Changers, being, you know, plant-based athletes exceeding any of their PRs in the Olympics and the NFL and the MLB. In all aspects, ultra marathon runners, like MMA fighters. And they all said, I wish I knew this earlier, because I would have started, because it's helped my life so much. And so prior to that as well, I had this mindset of, it was 29 years of me eating a certain way. I can't expect it to be like rainbows and sunshines literally in like a month or two. I have to give this a longer duration of time and experience, you know, to counteract all those years of being unconscious in this area of my life. And I also, so that was one thought. And then the second thought was, I had learned that every 7 years, it's basically almost 100% cell turnover. So you're brand new. So I had this question of like, how would my body feel? How would my life be if I stuck to a plant-based lifestyle for 7 years? I can't, like, I was kind of excited at that thought and that journey of like, let's see what happens. And just this past September is 5 years. So it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Yeah.
Mark, that's incredible, man. 5 years, like kudos to that. I'm only like 9 months into it. So like
that's impressive.
And it's like, you know, like you talked about those first like 6 months or whatever, and you're like watching those documentaries and stuff. And man, so that gives me like a lot of like hope to look forward to in the future, because like even in these 9 months, it's like the changes keep happening. And like you mentioned about the shrimp, that's so interesting, man, because it's like my tastes are changing as well. It's like when people ask us, they're like, you probably get the same thing. They're like, well, don't you have cravings? And don't you feel like, you know, you walk past a taco stand and you know, you want to get the shrimp tacos or whatever. And it's like, well, those smells to me are, you know, they're reminiscent of times that I've had in the past and everything. And I don't deny that it smells good, but I honestly don't crave that. Do you feel the same way?
Same thing. Exactly the same way. Like being in California here, In-N-Out Burger is such a high like commodity. And oh man, In-N-Out, when I come to California, you know, oh, do you ever miss In-N-Out and stuff? And for me, I think about how I feel in my body now. And then I could snapshot, remember how I felt back when I was eating 3x2 animal style and a double cheeseburger back to back with 2 things of fries, and like how tired and sluggish and slow thinking and slow moving I feel compared to this version that's across from you right now, you know? And so I think this is way worth it, way more worth it than how I was feeling back then. But it's part of that process. It's part of that detachment of those old habits, really, in my opinion, because, you know, these, what they call foods, are so heavily marketed, not only just to ourselves, but through our culture, through our traditions. I mean, look at Thanksgiving coming up. It's all around basically gluttony. I mean, you know what I mean? Like eating as much as you can. Like that's what I used to do. I used to think, okay, I'm going to eat 3 full plates, like each plate weighing like 5 to 10 pounds, and scarf that down, go back for another, scarf that down, go back for another, and then end up being so tired having to take the itis nap after, you know?
Exactly. Dude, Mark, it's like, man, just even in talking to you before the show and you guys like talking to him right now, like our journeys mirror each other so much. And I think that there's a lot of other young men whose journeys mirror this as well because, like the more protein, the better. So we're packing our plates and, carb up before the football game, carb up before your wrestling match. And it's just like food, 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 food. And then, you want to take the nap and you don't feel as good after a certain amount of time. Maybe you can get away with that when you're younger. But when I started getting in, into my later 30s, that's kind of what prompted me to look at alternative options because I was feeling sluggish and I was feeling like just this weight sitting in my stomach, and I don't want that there. But I think that's not a function of age, actually. Marcus and I are in our 30s, you guys. Like I'm in my late 30s. Marcus is in his mid 30s, and you wouldn't tell by looking at him. I mean, he looks like he's in his mid 20s. And people say that I look a little bit younger too. I've only been on this lifestyle for about 9 months, but after I had a weight loss experience in high school, I've been kind of on like the pretty clean, whole foods diet for about 23 years. But in addition to the fitness and all the work that Marcus and I have put in, which I want to talk about too. But, when it comes to the aging, I think that some of those meals and some of that binging and gluttony stuff, it kind of adds up and it kind of accumulates in your system over time. And that's actually what Marcus and I connected on over Instagram because we both had some similar detox stories. So that's what I want to dig into is what was after going, vegan and you're high raw and you're eating clean, what sort of like additional detox process did you undergo, and did you have any like symptoms or anything like that? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah. I mean, each year has brought about new levels of awareness and like experimentation. I kind of looked at this whole 7 year like outlook as experimentation throughout. I came in thinking, okay, I don't want to be like any other unfit, unhealthy vegan people with eating processed like Beyond Burgers and like pizzas and stuff as like the bulk of my food. I wanted to make sure I was eating organic whole foods because I had been learning about um, how important organic is, and even that organic even isn't even enough right now because of all the pesticides and all the heavy metal toxins and all the endocrine disruptors that are constantly around us in our environment externally, but also in our internal, like learning about how certain fabrics lower your frequency and like cause more stress on your lymphatic or immune system. It's so interesting. I always like reflect on the beginnings of mine of like, thank God I thought about starting with the cleanse. So starting with that 10-day cleanse, recognizing the contrast between having animal put back in after a pretty fast detox in a way. After that, I was like, I'm just going to be plant based. Like, I'm going to take my time. I thought I have a video of me saying, like, maybe I was going too fast at this back then. But I think now, looking back, I'm like, no, that was great. I'm glad I did that. And then, so that was September 2020. In December of 2020, I did a day ultimate lifestyle transformation with this superfood company called Purium. And it's like super nutrient dense superfoods formulations. So there's like a green formulation called Power Shake. It hits all your micronutrients at the cellular level as well as detox from forever chemicals and stuff like that. And then there's a gut support that helps remove glyphosate, up to 74.5% of glyphosate in 6 weeks. And that was a huge thing I had been learning from Dr. Zach Bush in that whole beginning time of like regenerative agriculture and like glyphosates being sprayed on all your corn, wheat, soy, those nuts, those inorganic vegetables and fruits, and that substance is very difficult to detox from, basically. And so I got those. There's some amino acids that were in that thing. There was tart cherry at night you take, and then there's a parasite cleanse. That process in that first 30 days, like 30 days of that cleanse, literally took it to a whole nother level that I've been sustaining that lifestyle for the last 5 years, making sure that I get those micronutrients from the superfoods from volcanic rich soil. Like, can't even, like, it's changed my life so much in how I perform and how I show up. I think that part has accelerated my results over these 5 years. And it's allowed me to make sure health-wise that it's like my health insurance, because I know what I'm getting from the nutrient density of this. And if I'm interacting and going to a restaurant with my friends that maybe isn't vegan, but I can have that before or after and know that I'm good, was a huge part of this process. And fast forward to 2023, I was in a business that was more traveling and lifestyle related and stuff. And those individuals around me were drinking a lot. And I was already like on that path of letting go of alcohol, but
Yeah.
I kind of came back into it a little bit and playing around. And until December of 2023, where I was at a friend's birthday celebration for a couple days, the whole time they're like, hey, come on, take a shot with us, take a shot. And I was like, nah, nah, nah. And then the last day, he's like, come on, this is the last day. You're leaving tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, I'll take one. I took a shot of Tito's, and I
Man.
felt the burn all the way through. It felt like the first time I ever took a shot when I was in college. Like that burn sensation, my nose burned up, and like I knew like deep down too, I'm like, dang, I shouldn't have done that. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm good off alcohol. I'm good. And then around that same time, I was learning about like the raw food lifestyle. Because prior
Yeah.
to that time, I was eating mostly high raw, but I would eat some more cooked foods here and there because I had my superfoods as like nourishment. Like I usually am not even that hungry when I eat a lot of that or take a couple rounds of that.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a huge, insight that I learned. Like it's all about the minerals and the micronutrients that our cells are craving for, are starving for, that we've been starving ourselves unknowingly by eating processed foods, eating, packaged foods and all that stuff. And our body's like, yo, where's the real stuff to build from, So at that time I was learning about raw food. I was listening heavily, binge listening to Dr. Morris, to John Rose, to Professor Spira, to like all these people, Jillian Berry podcast with all of them, I was listening. I was like, dang, okay. And I knew coming in January, I wanted to do a parasite cleanse to like kind of cleanse all that sin of like the alcohol and some of the more cooked food, restaurant food that wasn't as good quality. 2024 was like another quantum leap because I incorporated the high raw like consciously into my lifestyle. And that's where I had some major parasite releases, and I got into mono fruit fasting with some of my friends within the superfood community. They're like, yo, we're going to do fruit fasting 5 days on, take another week off, and then go again 5 days. And then later we did it every 2 days. And I was playing around with it. Honestly, I was scared to do fruit fasting. Honestly, I was like,
Yeah.
how am I going to live off this? And I started the first one. I'll just talk about the first one. The first one I did 2.5 days of just oranges. And then the last 2.5 days was blueberries. And it was just like such a mental exercise, a physical exercise, because on the Thursday and Friday of that cleanse, it was blueberries for me. I booked a modeling gig like for 2 days. That, when you're on set, for those that are not into the entertainment world or don't really know, they always have like craft services, all these snacks, and then they have lunch catered and breakfast catered. So I had to stay disciplined, or I chose, not that I had to, I chose to stay disciplined in that. I went to the store, got my organic blueberries, and just was eating that with joy and happiness while everyone was eating all this like gourmet food around me. So I naturally got all these questions like, what are you doing, man? Like, how are you even living? I'm like, this is day 5 now. I'm feeling good. And
Nice.
after you achieve like those kind of things, like for yourself, it like it levels you up because you going
Yes.
into it, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But then you just start walking and doing it and you figure it out along the way. And I'm so thankful for those people around me to push me and like challenge me to do that, because fruit is our fuel anyway. You know what I mean? It's our
Yes.
biological design. So that started that train. And I was doing watermelon. I did watermelon 10 days in the summer, and it started at 5 and I extended it 5 more days because I felt so good. And that parasites, a ton of parasites left. I wasn't even taking parasite herbs then, but they were releasing. Um, there's so much, like in that time, I was like, I never really experienced it. I didn't really know the consciousness level of what parasites are doing in the body and like why they're even there and all this stuff. And so just saturating myself. That's the thing I really love doing. Saturating myself with all this information to make more sense of it as I'm walking through it, you know? So it's like more undeniable too. And it's like, okay, if I experience a detox symptom, it's not sick. It's poison leaving the body. And poison going in, you may not feel poison coming in, but poison coming out, that's a different feeling.
Yes, 100%. I think I've heard something like, don't quote me on this, but it's like it's twice as bad on the way out or something like that,
I
you
think
know?
it depends. Like, I think one of the biggest factors in that is, are you supporting your detox pathways? Are you moving your
Mm,
body to open up the lymph channels? Are you consuming hydrating foods to open up your kidneys to help detox the liver, to get stuff moving? Because it's like, if you don't have those detox pathways open, let's talk about the skin, right? If you're not sweating, like your skin's the biggest organ. It's the third detox organ, basically. Or actually, it's like third, fourth. You know, our lungs actually detox a lot. So breathing effectively too detoxifies a lot. So think about it in like the sense of your plumbing in your house. You know, if that thing gets backed up, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if your colon is backed up in your body? What's going to happen? You know what I mean? There's that backup. It's supposed to leave. You know,
yes,
most people are only going to the bathroom number 2. Some people every other day, some people every week. Like there's variance, maybe
right.
once a day for some people, but an actual like healthy flow is every time you put a meal in, a meal should be leaving, you know? So many people are
Exactly.
packed up like hundreds and hundreds of meals. And that kind of transitions us into that idea of the mucoid plaque, of that
Yes.
buildup of that waste material that has compounded and hardened and compounded and hardened on your intestinal walls. And man, when I saw some of that come out during the watermelon 10 days, I was like, whoa. I was like, what is that? This doesn't smell like watermelon. I was only eating watermelon for 10 days. So, you know what I mean? It had to be old waste material that was coming out that was really like nasty smelling, really thick, that I was like, whoa, like this must have been here for God only knows, you know? But you kind of have to peel those layers back, kind of like an onion in my analogy for myself. When I start seeing that, we have these onion layers of, you know, waste material in our body. And even witnessing some of my other friends in the like regenerative detoxification realm, like that have been going hard in the detox world for a couple years and still releasing that waste, that mucoid, it's like there's a lot. There's a lot, you know?
There's a lot, and that's incredible that you got it out with the watermelon mono fruit fasting. And so I want to touch more on that,
Yeah.
but I want to just rewind for 2 seconds. And I'm super curious about releasing parasites, man. And you had mentioned briefly that you learned a lot about the parasite connection to the body. It's, you know, that's what a parasite is. It lives off its host. And what sort of change, like, what did you see them come out? What sort of changes did you feel like after you released them? Because I personally, I don't think that I've seen much come out, but I mean, I've been taking parasite herbs too, you
Yeah.
know, on and off.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times where I was, you know, examining my number 2 and I was like, well, maybe that's like a dead parasite or a dead worm or something in there. So yeah, like I'm super curious about that, man.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, parasites live out throughout the body. You know, there's certain regions that they call certain parasites for what region or what organ they're chilling in, like liver flukes. You got blood flukes. There's different species or families of parasites like that can be found in all areas. Like you can find parasites in the brain, you know what I mean? Those are like pretty like significant. But yeah, like when I was doing my parasite cleanse in January of 2024, that's when I was saying that I went fully raw with it. And I was mainly liquid too. I was just doing smoothies, shakes. I was eating fruit. So really hydrating, water moving through, and then the herbs. I remember it was like day 6 or 7 of taking the herbs. And I just looked down after I went number 2 and I was like, that looks different. like all these kind of like little wormy things, and I'm like, I haven't really eaten anything like that, so it had to be. And I started kind of looking that stuff up on Instagram and YouTube and like Google of like, what do parasites look like? And at first I was only finding like renderings and like color drawings, but nothing really like picture related until I looked a little deeper and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks just like what I just released. And so that happened. And then, so my parasite cleanse that I usually follow goes 10 days on, 20 days break, 10 days off, or 10 days back on. Mainly for when you detox parasites, they release eggs as a way to repopulate their family into your body. Like they don't want to die. So they'll release thousands of eggs after the die off. So it takes some parasite eggs take about 15 to 20 days to hatch. And while they're in their little egg, it's kind of like a protective mechanism that only certain herbs can, kill them off or remove them. But parasites are very intelligent of like where they want to strategically lay their eggs and protect them and lay in biofilm and all these things, right? But so after 10 days, 3 days after that, so no parasite herbs, I had another release that was even more than that first one. And this was on a Sunday, like today, right? And I usually go to the Hollywood Farmers Market in this time. And so I had this release. I was literally over the toilet for 90 minutes with a Q-tip and a chopstick, like digging through it. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Took video and photos and I'm laying it out on a paper towel. Like, dude, this is crazy. And so I walked to the farmer's market, and this is a farmer's market that I go to pretty regularly. So I know a lot of the vendors, I know some people, my friends show up there. So as I'm walking through, hey, Marcus, what's up? And they're like, something's different about you. You're glowing and stuff. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, you want to know what's going on? You want to see something crazy that just released out of my body like 20 minutes ago? And so that right there for me was the energetic confirmation. Like I saw these worms out of my body. And then people who didn't know that I was on parasite cleanse noticed my aura, my energy, my skin's glowing brighter and all that stuff. So that was a direct correlation to how these parasites are living off the host's energy. And when you detach or kill them off, you have your energy stores back, and it's apparent with people that you interact with, or at least for me, oh man, you feel good. Your energy feels safe, blah, 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 like all this stuff. And so that really inspired me to keep going deeper, like in the proper, on off throughout. But I personally recommend, especially in the beginning, but honestly, it's more of like a lifestyle to parasite cleanse with the seasons. You know what I mean? This is what like indigenous people used to do anyway, and we've lost that way. And especially if you're consuming animal or animal byproduct, or if you're swimming in rivers and all this stuff, like parasites are everywhere, really. And so it would be in one's best interest to have a routine of parasite cleansing. But with that routine, it's like my thought process is like, one, why are they there? For me, I like knowing like, why are they even there? Like, are they super bad or are they super good? Are they neutral? Are they here for a specific purpose? I think they are. I think they're there to, consume things that our body can't consume, which is usually heavy metals, chemicals, pesticides, all that stuff, and processed foods, just undigested things. But they also tap into your energy system too. And they, I believe, can control your thoughts. I think that parasites, like the thoughts that you have that are negative or whatever that are flowing through, aren't yours. I think that they're the parasites to keep you at a frequency that'll keep their environment hospitable to them. So when you go high fruit, when you go, high mineral content, when you hit them with some herbs that they don't like, you know what I mean? That's really sending a message. And then if you're, into like meditation or monitoring or viewing your breath or in your thoughts, noticing how those thoughts change. Do they amplify in the beginning of a parasite cleanse or through a parasite cleanse? Because sometimes I've noticed in the past, not so much as much now, but I remember that first parasite cleanse I did in 2020. I was alone doing it. I was alone in my apartment, and there was times where I was like, should I just quit? Something doesn't feel right. But then, honestly, I'm thankful for my athletic upbringing of like, just get it done. You committed to it. The discipline around, no, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm fine. Like telling myself, empowering myself up to make it through, because I know there's something on the other side. There's so many other examples of people that have been doing this for eons, right? Like, and they're fine, so it's not going to kill you. It's killing these entities that are acting as you, basically. Like, it's crazy, dude.
That's intense, Marcus. And thank you so much. Like, that is the best. You guys, watch that back. That is the best education that I've got on parasites. I've dabbled. I've seen it come up in my feed, and some of those pictures that you were mentioning. I mean, that is just remarkable. I'm going to look back at some of those and then see if it jogs my memory of when I'm like, hey, maybe that is it. And so, yeah, just thank you so much for that. And I wanted to touch on something that you said, because I wanted to share with you, man. When you mentioned that people have commented on how you look, and especially your energy, and that your energy feels safe, I literally had that exact same thought today, is that in my interactions with you, that your energy feels so safe. Because I'm like, oh, dude, thank you, man. You're okay. Because what I was thinking is like, this guy, I mean, he's a model, he's, super fit, he's super smart. And I still get kind of nervous coming onto these podcasts sometimes, because like my guests, I just look up to my guests so much, and I look up to you and honor you. But, like, I didn't feel as nervous because you made me feel so safe in your energy, man. Yeah. And I'm just loving this conversation right now. So, I think you just
too. I got to honor you, because I mean, I feel the same way coming on certain podcasts. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know which way, the conversation's going to go, but I instantly like gravitated towards your energy when I saw you with Jerome, because Jerome and we did a podcast too last year. And then I had the honor of meeting him just 2 months ago. He was out here in Long Beach for like their pranic retreat. But yeah, it's like, I see you. I see that light within you, and you're glowing too. Like, and when you mentioned that you're in your upper 30s, I'm like, dude, I thought you were like upper 20s easily. So it's like, you know what I mean? We see the light in each other, and I really honor you and appreciate you for that.
Dude, Marcus, thank you so much, man. And you guys, like, this lifestyle has changed me completely. When you were talking about like some of those thoughts that come up, or just operating from a lower vibration, operating from the lower chakras, however you want to put that, oversexing the body, overfeeding the body, being over aggressive, indulging in negative emotions too much, whether it's grief, sadness, guilt. All of those things are low vibrational energy. And if you want to look at it from kind of like a scientific standpoint, not that I claim to be like, super big on the studies and the science, I'm more of like an energetic and like a personal experience sort of a feel type of person. But I think it keeps your body more in like a stressed out state. And chemically, that's going to allow those parasites to, like you mentioned, keep having a hospitable home to propagate inside your body. And you also mentioned how the parasites are strategic in finding a place to hide their eggs. I mean, it's gross, dude.
Yo,
It's
wait,
gross.
I gotta put this other little nugget, and this is something that I've noticed and witnessed, like in groups, right? So like this conversation in general, people are gonna probably log off because they're not ready for it. But I think that in witnessing how people move when I talk about this in like in-person groups, I just like I said, parasites can control the host if the host isn't aware and conscious. So sometimes when I bring up parasite, hey, I'm doing a parasite cleanse, or I just saw these worms come out and blah blah blah, to a person who is maybe not in the driver's seat, the parasite's in the driver's seat, and literally I've seen people just shut down, like eyes kind of just are, they're out of the conversation now, and then just walk away as we're talking about, oh yeah, this happened, and yeah, you want to do this, and then they just exit the chat. Because I'm like, it makes sense from a wanting to live situation. Obviously the parasites want to live because they're inhabiting the host. So if somebody who's doing that work at a high frequency, I kind of joke around like a person's parasites has cousins in other people, right? Because parasites are like all over the place. So it's like they
Yeah.
know that this other vessel, this other being doesn't have as many of their family in them. So they're like, oh, so pause that. I like using this analogy of like, think about middle school or something, and someone's been bullied, and all the bullies are just like, So the person that's being bullied is the soul of the person. And like the bullies have control until the soul stands up and empowers himself. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
like, I see that with parasite cleansing is like you have this inner desire from your soul to kick out all the uninvited guests, and then you start
Yes.
gaining your power back over time. So I like using that because it's like it feels like the best or one of the better analogies to visualize like kind of what's happening on the energetic and the physical level when this is all happening.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. That's an awesome analogy. It's like they recognize that this host doesn't have as much parasitic influence, so they're not going to be as gravitated towards that person because that's going to affect their survival. I mean, we have to look at this from an energetic standpoint. If we could all see each other's auras, and maybe parasites, they can somehow sense the energy. I mean, just look at animals, just look at dogs, cats, birds. I've noticed some crazy things since I started cleaning myself out. Like animals just love me and stuff like that, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is real stuff, guys. Like me and Marcus are not just saying this stuff, and you were talking about how sometimes they like lodge themselves like in the plaque itself. So what I'm thinking is like, we were talking about like there's so much plaque. And so for those people watching, like, what would you recommend? Like, if they're listening to this conversation, they're resonating with it, and they're ready. Like, would you have them do like a mono fruit fast? Would you have them start with a cleanse? Would you have them do parasite cleanse, herbs? Because what would you lead them to like? I guess so abruptly go into it, but like go into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's case by case. It's person by person. Like,
Yeah.
like personally for me, sometimes when I hear about things that are going to benefit my life, I'm just going to jump right in. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just going to do it, similar to my beginning of saw Game Changers. Okay, I'm going to attempt a 10-day cleanse. Going 6 days out of 10 for somebody just straight off the street. I think that that's a win. I think any investment forward into, bettering yourself is a win regardless. So even if you didn't make the full 10 days, it's okay. But the thing is, it's like picking back up and not quitting and not, going back to old behaviors. But that's the thing. It's like, it takes about 90 to 100 days to effectively create a healthy habit. And with that, break unhealthy habits too. So, that's a mindset thing as well. And sometimes for people's minds, they need to know more information potentially. But I would say don't let that deter you from taking the action, especially when you surround yourself with people that have been on the journey ahead and have been doing this for a longer period of time, just in general. Because just by that time, it's like peeling back those layers. So yeah, there's gonna be more flow and less obstructions, like the mucusless diet, like Arnold Ehret talks about, reducing those obstructions so energy can flow. That's what we're trying to do. And so with that being said, it's always case by case, but I would say that making sure that you prioritize gut health is super important. Also prioritizing nutrient density and really giving your cells that love, those minerals that we just, in our current situation, it's gotten way better in the last 5+ years. Each year it's leap and bound getting better because more people are becoming aware of, okay, we got to protect our soils because our soil health outside is reflective of our internal soil health in our gut microbiome. So that has to be taken care of first and foremost. But how does that help itself? With cleansing. It doesn't even have to be like specifically a cleanse. If you just started with, I'm talking about someone who's still eating animals and stuff. If you even started
Yeah.
meatless Monday, just dedicate just one day not doing it. And then after you feel like, oh, I'm feeling better, add another day. By those steps, a few weeks later, a few months later, you're going to be plant-based, totally plant-based. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're not experiencing that stimulation that animal products do to your body, and then that breakdown, like, this is just science of how it happens in our human body. When we consume animal or animal byproduct, in that breakdown process from protein to amino acids, there's uric acid byproduct, which is poison to your body. So your body prioritizes, I got to get this poison out for sure, fast. And that's what leads to, over time, inflamed joints, chronic inflammation, dysbiosis, like all these things. At the same time, it's sticky. There's no fiber in any animal or animal byproducts. So that gets stuck in your colon, and that accumulates over time, which creates an environment for parasites, and they are going to keep laying eggs and keep taking over the host. You know what I mean? So if we don't want
Yes.
any of that, start going more alkaline, like fruits and vegetables. God put those things here for us, like to pick off the tree with our hands. You know what I mean? The tree is freely giving fruits, like, to us. Like, I'm very high on fruit. Like, I'm a very high advocate for fruit. But then also recognizing that food combinations matter too. Because some people will say, oh, I can't eat a lot of fruit because my stomach, da 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 da. But that's actually what you want it to. The fruit is just helping move some of that stuff out. You know what I mean? Which, that's where it's case by case, because some people, based on their lifestyle habits up to that point of wanting to change, will need some guidance of, coming off of that too, in a healthy way where it's not like overwhelming to their capacity at that time. And like, side tangent, like, I have a friend who I've helped guide through, and this is her choice too, and this is not medical advice or anything like that, but she was taking bipolar medication for like 9 years, and she was tired of it, and it was like causing her all this stress and chaos. And I helped guide her through slowly titrating off of that. And now, since June, she's been medication free. So, it's possible, and it doesn't have to be all at once, just depending on your mental capacity, your body capacity, and also your, I would say, awareness to what's actually happening in the moment. You know what I mean? Because there is stuff like certain fasting protocols really help detox fast. And like I said before, if those detox pathways aren't able to move them through at the rate that it's being moved, that's when you can have some of these backups and stuff. So recognizing maybe this is a time to like slow down a fast or something, you know what I mean? And you can use that with some of the mucusless foods. Cooked foods are still okay in that realm, the mucusless foods. that is, able for your body to create that capacity to like endure and keep going.
Dude, 100%. And it's like, your background as an athlete, that gave you that mental discipline and to get started. And I would say that, like, as a personal trainer, yoga instructor and stuff like that, like being in a group environment is so powerful too. And I love how you highlighted that. And, you were talking about the game changers and stuff as being like a big motivation for you. And I know you're like this super, super fit, super active guy. And we were talking before the show about our similar experiences with this diet. And maybe we can highlight as we come to a close here, like some of the benefits that, young people or people of any age, people who they're wanting to, also clean up their body, but also be fit and improve on their fitness, maybe lose some weight. And as you were saying, that's going to totally help the detox pathways. But as you start to clean up, like, how have you noticed that, like, your workouts have changed? Staying fit easier now? What's been your experience with that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I noticed, especially in the beginning, I was like in 2020, 2021, 2022, I was more like in the gym working out. And I noticed like one, more energy throughout the workouts. Yeah, you still get gassed, but the recovery into the next set or the next exercise was way faster than I've ever experienced before. Also, like as an athlete, you're not like taking on comparison, but you're looking around just to see where you're at amongst the group, right? And in the gym that I was working out, we had heart rate monitors that were like scientifically trying to stay in this heart rate range for this kind of exercise and blah blah blah. So they had it very like dialed in with that respect. We all can see who's like hitting those targets up on the monitor. Oftentimes I was way up there, like hitting the gold medals almost every day. And I also had an Apple Watch at the time. I lost it, and I'm not as big of an advocate for certain wearables from the EMF perspective, but I am glad that I was monitoring some of my like what it was tracking as far as calorie burn and stuff. Man, those workouts were 50 minutes and I was burning anywhere from 500 to 800 calories per workout. And I was going 4 to 5 days a week. And like the recovery side of it was like, it's blown my mind. Like where I would hit like heavy legs, leg day, you're usually toast for like 2 or 3 days after. I was able to go back the next day after a leg day and do like like a hit cardio day, and be hitting it just as hard, hitting those 500 to 800 calories per day. And that was blowing my mind. And people were blown away too. Like, I remember we were doing like testing our strength on PR for, deadlift and squats and stuff. So we did trap bar deadlift, and the highest I ever got in that gym was 397 for 6, and it was pretty easy. And they're like, I'm a lean frame, and that time I was probably like 185, 187. Right now, sitting right here, I'm 183. And
Okay.
this is like the craziest part too, because back then I was working out so hard and often. Right now, I'm more gentle because I'm coming on the other side of a cleansing mindset. I'm starting
Mm-hmm.
to ramp up and build from that. And this is something we were talking about before we got on live, but it's been like a total mind shock of like how I am aesthetically looking as good as I am with not as much effort as far as really hitting the gym like I used to, or like I'm doing more yoga, I'm doing more fascial maneuvers. I'm getting those areas that I noticed when I used to work out, like back in high school in basketball gym stuff, they didn't teach us form or anything. I was hurting my shoulders and my low back and all these things. So I'm like, I think as far as like longevity, I wanted to be feeling functional up through my hundreds. You know what I mean? Like this lifestyle, I see myself living definitely past 100. And it's not in a visual sense like we see the elderly people now. The game changers really opened that up for me when I saw this one dude who was in his mid 60s at a like a CrossFit gym. He owned a CrossFit gym. He was a ex-military or firefighter or something. And he said, I'm outworking these 20-something-year-olds in my gym.
Let's
I was
go.
like, that guy is me. That guy is me for sure. And
Same.
so I'm excited for this next part of my journey in adding in more calisthenic-based, functional-based discipline, and like doing it multiple days a week and like really dedicating myself while I have the tools of this high raw living food lifestyle to help amplify that. And I truly believe that I'm going to keep reversing this aesthetic, this age, you know, my biological age. I want to do one of those tests here soon too, and actually see from that test and the methylation and all that stuff where I'm at, you know, because I feel better than I've felt in my high school years, in my middle school years. I had terrible acne back in those days too, like cystic acne that was like, so like, I don't know if you ever saw All That, but there was that pizza face guy that they were making. And he literally had a pizza face with pepperoni and stuff. Like it seemed like that with how much acne I had. And I know that it had to do with a clogged lymphatic system. The foods that I was eating was not in benefit for my body. And one other thing that earlier you said, you had mentioned about like athletes and stuff. And this is something that I reflected on because I used to carb up. You had said carb up before a workout, before a game or something. So we used to do team meals with like pasta and stuff because we thought carbs that way. There was one time in my junior year, we didn't have pasta that day, but I had a whole thing of honeydew melon. That game, I did not get tired. That game, I got like 12 boards, like 15 points, a bunch of assists. Like I was making crazy stops on defense that I wish like this version that's talking to you now, I wish that I received that and kept doing that at that age, because that would have been like game over. But I just remember that specifically. It'll never leave my mind. I'm like, dang, I have a lot more energy. And it was like this low thought that I didn't have the curiosity to lean into more. But so if anybody out there who's currently, an athlete or, just performing in general, and try like melon or some type of fruit or juice before a workout and see how your performance is. Throw out protein in your mind. Throw it out for, especially in the like throw it out completely. I mean, I say throw it out completely altogether, really, but I'm not focused on protein. That's one of the biggest things too. I'm sure you get it all the time. Where do you get your protein? Da, 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 da. And most people just don't know what protein even is. So, I always, whenever that question comes up, I just ask, what is protein? What is it? And most people can't say that it's a chain of amino acids that create a more complex structure. And then most people don't know that our body doesn't deal with complex structures. It has to break it down. That's what digestion is. So if we're eating the fruits and the vegetables and the nuts and seeds that are already at the amino acid level to build up, you save way more energy and you're not as tired, because digestion is one of the highest metabolic functions that our bodies perform on a day-to-day. And then how many people are eating 3 times a day? How many people are eating 6? I used to eat 6 times a day. I was tired. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So.
No, that's exactly true about protein, man. And as you said earlier, when you have to break down the proteins, especially from animal products, I think you mentioned that it releases this uric acid stuff, and that's coagulating our lymph system. That's giving us arthritis in our joints and gout and all these other things. And it's like, and just like your whole athletic transformation. I mean, that's incredible, man, because you guys, Marcus is doing calisthenics, he's doing yoga, he's doing these fascia movements, he's doing more functional movements. I would imagine you're not deadlifting as much, you're not doing these compound lifts as much, but he's just as strong, has more energy. and you're able to maintain your leanness and without like having to worry about doing all this cardio to burn off all these calories that you consumed because you thought you had to eat so many calories to build your muscles back up. And it's like this vicious cycle that you're just like, nope, I'm unplugging myself from that cycle. And you did that like with your high raw lifestyle, with the fruits, you know, with the raw foods, with all the cleansing that you've done. And you're on this path and this trajectory to just defy aging, defy the clock. And dude, when you get that test done, let me know, man, because I want to get it done too, but you know, like, man, I got some work ahead of me. Like I'm only new and fresh in my journey, but you've given me such inspiration. And for everybody out there, I hope you guys got some inspo from this as well. And Marcus, thanks again so much for being on. And where can everybody find you? Like, can they add you on Instagram? Do you have a YouTube? Like, can they work with you? Can they DM you? Like, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, for sure. And thank you again, Blake, for reaching out. And I mean, it was a mutual reach out and respect that we see in each other. And you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, our relationship going forward from this. You know, I can only see great things happening. But yeah, y'all can find me on Instagram at Marcus Watts with a Z at the end. I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Superfood Vibes. So check that out. I'm in that process still building that out. I have a few videos up there, but getting in that creative mode and figuring out how else I can best serve the collective with the experience and just the curiosity that I have with stuff, the little challenges that I have. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or on YouTube. I think you can DM or you can message or something. Those are the main two platforms that I'm really on. I have TikTok as well, but I don't really use that as much, but it's Marcus Watts, same as the Instagram. And if you want, you can find me on Facebook as well. Just search Marcus Watts. You'll see my shining face on the profile picture.
Awesome. All right, cool. All right, you guys. So I'll put all of Marcus's links in the description below, and you can just click on it and go directly there. And then also, we are going to be doing a live on Instagram in this upcoming week. So make sure you guys check that out. And until next time, we will talk soon. Thank you, guys.
Peace.